New year, fresh start, time to recreate myself. What will I find when I walk down this path? New friends, new goals, new challenges to be met. I will meet them, and I am going to succeed. New year, fresh start, it's time for self-discovery.
Episode 22. Rush to the Palace. As soon as Noah emerged from the portal, a great blast of strange magic struck him. Despite him being an archangel and a war veteran of the Bright War, Noah had never stepped foot in Hellos. It was almost as if the air tingled with a kind of spiciness, only a spiciness of the spirit. Every nerve ending danced in excited newness. He opened his eyes and beheld the splendors of Hellos. A taupe-colored sky stretched above the capital city of the Demon Kingdom, with caramel-colored clouds floating in various places. Whereas Heavenos was a gaseous world with no actual surface, Hellos seemed so alien to him. Tan-colored buildings were all around him, most of which were 3 to 4 stories tall. Tan-colored cobblestone streets ran through the city. A great many screams resonated throughout the city, infused with terror, fury, and desperation. Now was not the time for being in awe. The Helosians were in dire need.
We have to make it to the palace, but we also need to help my people.
Kazuna's body started shimmering and changing, reverting to her normal form. Her skin took on a garnet-colored shade, and a pair of thick and muscular demon wings stretched from her back. She became taller as her legs and arms widened and lengthened, and she stood about a foot taller than Noah did. An aura of magical energy flickered off of her. Demi's body also changed. Her reddish-black horns emerged from her forehead. She also grew much larger and bulkier in form, and several sharp fangs peeked out past her lips. Demi was 2 feet taller than Noah was. When he turned around, he noticed the other demons and devils had returned to their forms. Noah focused on Seto. Seto was perhaps 2 feet taller than Noah as well, with a broad chest, large arms and thighs, and clawed hands. His skin had taken on a mint green tint. Seto held the sword at his side and reverberated with intense splendor. Why in the Hellos did all these Helosians have to be so damn tall? Kachina giggled into her hand, and she ran the other over Seto's stomach.
I really like your coloring.
Kachina! Honestly, we're in public, and now is not the time, I'm sure.
Both Seto and Kachina averted their gazes, and their cheeks turned crimson. Seto's parents just smiled. Also, both of them, even the short dad, Jake, was taller than Noah. Pat was 2 feet taller than him, with vibrant purple skin and spiky ridges that were on his arms and shoulders. Jake was a foot taller, with yellow scales, a third eye above his other 2, a pair of pointed ears, and the man had 4 arms. Noah just sighed.
My princess, if you promise to keep an eye on our brave little fighter, Jake and I will lead the rest of the student body through the neighborhoods, fighting where we can.
Kazuna simply gave him a nod and then turned her attention toward the palace in the distance. Jake and Pat walked up to Kachina, a wide smile on their faces.
Please, keep an eye on Seto. You're the best thing to happen to him. And we're happy that you decided to stay with someone like him.
What is that supposed to mean? Hellos, Dad. You're embarrassing me.
Don't worry, Mr. Jake and Pat. I'll protect him.
Fatima and Farouk moved up behind their daughter.
We'll also keep an eye on Seto as well. You two did a great job raising an outstanding young man.
Jake and Pat beamed at one another, gave Seto a sandwich hug, and then collected the other demon and devil students and their families. The large army moved off down the avenues. Samuel and his Kitsune band, Demi, Kazuna, the El Amans, Seto, Isa, Headmistress Darboux, and Noah stood alone. And all eyes were on Kazuna.
Follow me!
Kazuna pointed down an alleyway and then started running. Noah ran at her heels. They had managed to come to a great square filled with fighting Holotians and archangels. Many dead Holotians lay on the cobblestones, and most who were fighting were merely everyday citizens. The archangels slashed through them with viciousness.
You bastards!
The archangels stopped their slaughter and turned toward Noah and his group. Noah did a quick glance and guessed no more than 20 archangels stood before them. Each of them were battle-trained and determined to die. One of them pointed a sword toward Noah and yelled out. The others matched his yell, and then they all took to the air. It wasn't to escape, but to dive in. Noah flew ahead and used EA to deflect one of the archangel's swords. As soon as Noah saw who his opponent was, his blood ran colder. Noah twisted in the air, higher and higher, blocking and countering against an archangel named Tonasu. Tonasu's green eyes flared with bitter hatred. During the Bright War, Noah, or rather Marzo, often fought with the same unit of specialists. Kazuna was one of them, and for most of the war was his superior officer. Tonasu was in the same unit, and both he and Marzo spilled blood, dripped sweat, and celebrated victory together.
You fucking traitor.
Noah bobbed, weaved, and twirled his spear around him in wide circles. His shaft kept knocking Tonasu's blade out of the way at the last moment, but his longtime friend was not deterred. Tonasu just kept swinging and rushing forward, driving Noah back. From the corner of his eye, Noah saw the others. Kazuna blasted magical fire and energy at several archangels who tried to flee her arcane attacks. Samuel wielded a rainbow blade that, in all honesty, was quite distracting to Noah. In fact, Tonasu managed to slice his cheek because Noah was momentarily distracted by the blade on first glance. Seto and Kachina worked in unison and, once more, Noah got a little cut on his arm due to his inattention. Was that Kachina's dad? A massive individual, perhaps about 25 feet tall, with spice-colored skin, a bright beard of actual fire, a dazzling white turban on his head, and a wide body stood in the square. Fatima sat on the giant's shoulders. She had blue-green skin, and her body almost looked wispy as if it were made from the breeze. Farouk inhaled and then blew out fire at some of the other archangels in the sky. Fatima also exhaled, and when she blew out, a great gust of wind zipped past her lips, and it combined with Farouk's breath of fire. A great flaming tornado whirled about and collected up some of the archangels. Based on their screams, they did not last long. Kachina had actually changed too, although not as drastic as her Afriti father. She had taffy-colored skin, which looked neat when contrasted with her hijab.
Pay attention to me, you bastard. You owe me that much. It's all your fault. They died because of you.
Noah whirled to the side and thrust his spear several times. Tonasu parried the spear tip and waited for his moment to counter. When he did, he almost sliced off Noah's head.
I'm sorry. I had to stop Arcadian.
Sorry? Sorry? Oh, fuck you. You need to say sorry to Gambrine, to Colleen, to Dorsta, and Zine, and Svella. The Bright War could have ended on that day, but it continued, all because of you. Everyone else from our unit is dead, because of you.
Tonasu's strikes became faster and faster, nearly cutting Noah open with each attempt. Rather than counterattack, Noah just kept twirling his body and spear around.
Why did you choose them over us? Why did you choose that little demon bitch over your own people?
As Noah flipped over and flew behind his opponent, he noticed that Kazuna was now looking at them. Noah thrusted his spear over and over, and used the end of his spear to smack Tonasu. It hit him a couple of times in the armored gauntlets, and in the chest, but to no avail. At the very least, it allowed Noah to get some distance. A tremendous tongue of flame shot up and engulfed Tonasu momentarily. Kazuna's eyes radiated with such fury, and then she turned her attention elsewhere. Tonasu flew out of the fire, dazed and frustrated over the sudden burst of heat. Noah's spearhead dug into the center of the Archangel's chest, and dug deeply as the blade was long. Noah stared into Tonasu's eyes.
I'm sorry, my friend. I had to save Kazuna. I had to stop our people from doing what Arcadian is trying to make you all do now.
Tonasu spat at Noah, and his loogie hit Noah in the cheek.
You ruined our people. You ruined Heavenos. There hasn't been a new Archangel since you destroyed the Radiant Council. You are the worst thing to ever happen to Heavenos.
Noah planted his foot on Tonasu's stomach and then kicked the Archangel free of EA.
No, I am not. Join the others, old friend. Rest in peace.
Tonasu plummeted to the ground below. Noah just watched the others. Samuel danced between two fierce angels as 3 of his brethren lay dead alongside the archangels. Whenever Samuel swung his rainbow sword, the eyes of the archangels flooded, and they glazed over. They did their best to keep up with the blade, but the rainbow sword got lost in the winding light trails that stayed in the air. Samuel cleaved one of the angels' heads off, and then stabbed the other in the chest. Issa and Headmistress Darboux casted Arcanite spells at the archangels. With the tiara, the Headmistress was omnipotent, and easily stood toe-to-toe against the Archangel Mage, who tried to contest against her. Issa, on the other hand, had some difficulties. Noah was about to go to her, but then she conjured a sphere of acid. The Archangel dove for her, hoping to slice her, and she shoved the acid in the angel's face. Just like that, Issa had no more issues. Noah landed down to where the kitsune lay. They had returned to their fox forms, and they were still. When Noah knelt down and touched them, the warmth had already left their bodies. The fighting stopped and everything grew silent. Noah just kept staring at the dead foxes. Samuel knelt down beside Noah.
I'm so sorry, man. I can't resurrect them. Not even with my artifacts.
Samuel reached down and ran his fingers against one of the kitsune's heads.
Thank you, Morgan. You were one badass motherfucker.
Samuel turned his attention to Noah.
They will be honored by my people. That's for damn sure. I'm gonna continue to fight with you, but I'm leaving the rest here. That cool with you?
Noah nodded and stood up. He turned his attention to the others who had walked up to him. The ground rumbled as Farouk walked up to the group. A large smile was on his face, and his eyes were squinted.
Damn! You a big motherfucker.
Yes, he is. Why do you think I married him? He's big.
Mother, that is so nasty.
Fatima looked down at her daughter and hollered all the more intensely. Farouk just kept smiling.
Come on, we have to get to the palace!
A large explosion boomed out, coming from somewhere close. More demons screamed out, and they even ran toward the square, where Noah and the others were. Behind them, 20 more archangels flew after them.
Looks like we're going into round 2.
The headmistress stepped forward and wove a spell. An instant later, an arcane wall of azure energy raised before the archangels. At first, they stopped, but then they started striking the barrier. Cracks started to form.
Ms. Miyoshi, please lead the others to the palace. I will hold them off as long as I can.
Samuel and the other kitsune stepped up beside her.
Not alone, you won't.
Headmistress Darboux grinned and then focused on the barrier. The ground thumped, and then Farouk and Fatima towered over the headmistress on the other side.
I'm going to continue on ahead. Please be careful, Mother and Father.
Farouk simply turned back around, beamed an even broader smile at Kachina, and then turned back around toward the barrier.
You be careful. And Seto, you have better bring back my sweet little Kachina, or I'll have Farouk sit on you.
Yes, ma'am.
Kazuna led the group down another street. The sounds of the barrier collapsing and the roar of fire and fury still found their way into Noah's ears. His heart throbbed, and yet he had to continue. 4 separate groups of archangels found their way to block Noah and the group, and each and every time Noah's group emerged unscathed. They eventually came to a great gatehouse leading up to a stairwell that led to the actual palace. A single angel stood there, with wings spread out, and her spear pointing toward the group. Diane's eyes wavered when she met Noah's, but as soon as she noticed Kachina and Seto, her rigid form faltered. Her face contorted for a moment, but then she resumed her nature.
I won't let you pass, Marzo the betrayer.
Kazuna's hands bathed in fiery light, but Noah held up a hand.
There's no time! We have to get to my family!
Noah stared at Diane, who seemed only to fixate on him.
Can you fly over her? And also take Issa with you? I have to handle this.
At first, Kazuna, Demi, and Issa just looked at Noah, but then they each nodded in succession. Demi picked up Issa as if she were a princess, and then she leapt high into the air. Diane frowned and watched their path through the air. Kazuna flew right beside Demi, and they landed on top of the gatehouse. Noah looked back at Kachina and Seto. To his surprise, they both formed into their Arceados Academy visages.
Go.
No. She's our friend. We won't let you kill her, Mr. Cruz.
Yes, even though she's an angel, we know she's a good person. Please let us stay.
Noah gave each of them a look and then realized the futility of anything he could say next. He sighed and then stepped forward closer to Diane. Likewise, she approached him, also a spear in hand.
Your father is wrong. He's going to bring about the destruction of all worlds. I know you. You're a good person.
For a brief moment, Diane's eyes widened. She glanced at Noah for a long moment, and then she spoke with unbridled anger in her voice. Hearing someone so young, with so much hate gripped at Noah's heart.
My father has already brought about the destruction of my people. He is a terrible man, and I will never forgive him for what he did.
Diane lunged in and thrust it out with her spear many times. Kachina gasped, and Seto watched in obvious horror as their friend attacked Noah. Noah simply dodged, deflected, and parried, but he never countered.
If you hate your father, then why do you follow his orders? Why are you acting as an accomplice to genocide?
Diane spun around, flapped over Noah's head, and almost stabbed him in the face. Noah's blood ran icy, and he started defending more tenaciously.
The Heliotians are the ones who destroyed my family. It's their fault that the Bright War started. My mother said so. If they hadn't done it, then I would not have been robbed.
Noah parried her spear tip again and again. Tears welled in Diane's eyes, and she struck out fiercely and recklessly.
Robbed of a childhood? Of normality? What? What is it that you've lost? I thought Heavenos and Helos had a ceasefire.
Diane tried to stab Noah in the stomach, but Noah parried at the last moment. He spun his shaft and struck one of her wrists. For just a moment, Diane's grip on her weapon slackened, and so Noah spun around. The shaft of his spear hit the back of her legs, and the angel hit the ground. Noah grabbed her spear, ripped it from her grip, and then tossed it away. He stood over her, and she stared up defiantly at him.
What did you lose that made you hate so much?
You? You abandoned me!
Noah's eyes widened, and then suddenly he was on the ground. Diane had flipped her legs around so hard that he toppled over. By the time he pushed himself up, Diane had regained her spear, and its tip was at Noah's throat. She didn't stab him, but she gaped at him with crying eyes.
No! Don't! You're not a murderer! You're a good person!
Don't lose yourself to darkness!
Noah just locked gazes with the little angel. Her eyes shimmered with a distant, long-maintained fury. Her jaw muscles were clenched, and the spear tip at Noah's throat wobbled.
What do you mean I abandoned you?
By Helos. He could be thick sometimes.
Arcadian isn't your father, is he?
He is my stepfather. My real father is a traitor, a coward, and a demon lover.
Noah started to push himself up more.
Stop! I'll stab you. I'll kill you. I really will.
Nevertheless, Noah stood up to a stand. Diane raised the spear tip so that it was always at his throat. It wobbled all the more.
I didn't know. Had I known, I would...
You didn't care about me ever. You just abandoned your people when they needed you most, and you never looked back. You're a coward.
Yes, I am. But I never stopped caring about the angels. I never stopped regretting that I had to do what I did.
More tears streamed down Diane's face, and she pressed the tip of her spear against Noah's skin. It poked into him ever so slightly, but not enough to break skin. Yet. Despite that, Noah smiled at her.
I didn't know, but I do now. And I love you.
Shut up! Don't say that! I hate you. I hate you so much. You abandoned me, and you ruined Heavenos.
You can hate me all you want. You can even kill me if it makes you feel better. But I will never stop loving you.
Diane's eyes widened. Kachina's hand rested on Diane's where she held the spear. A moment later, Seto was on the other side, and he wrapped an arm around her shoulder. Diane looked to Kachina, and then to Seto.
We love you too, because you are our friend.
Let go of the hate. We're going to be here to help you through it too, okay?
The spear tip dropped to the ground, and then it fell from Diane's grasp altogether. Diane fell to the ground, on her knees, and she openly wept into her hands. Kachina and Seto kneeled down beside her and hugged her, and a moment later, Diane placed her face into Kachina's chest. Hard sobs still resounded out. Kachina looked up at Noah.
Go on ahead. I'll stay with her and we'll make sure she's safe.
Thank you.
Noah's eyes watered, but he nodded. He had no time to linger about, even if it was for something like this. The final battle, perhaps his final battle, was just up those stairs. Without looking back, Noah ran toward the palace.